I love that. Okay, well, good morning. It is the last Thursday of February. We have officially made it through 2 months, essentially. The last Texas Power Up of this month. Let's get started with gratitude, with whatever we have going on. Shout outs, recognition, anything along those lines. Start the morning off on a really powerful note, and we'll go quickly. Brandon, going to you, sir.
What's up? Hey, so a couple shout outs. One for everyone on the San Antonio team who's been very consistent with open houses. We've been getting out there and taking advantage of that. And currently it's our number one source of business. And and our agents climbed it up to third about August, September of last year. So that's something we focused on. We've gotten pretty gritty on it, doing them consistently. So shout out to everyone doing them. And we're working with buyers and sellers off of those. So shout out. And then shout out to Alma, who took an expired listing this week. She's been really working on that. She's doing converted right now with Valencia, and she's broke that confidence barrier to where she's calling everybody, getting appointments with everybody. But the one that she set and got this week was she called them, set the appointment the same day, met them the same day, signed them the same day. And I know once stuff like that starts to happen, it really breaks down those hurdles that we think are tall, and they might be at the time. And then, we start clearing them pretty easy. So shout out to her. Kaylee had a listing that she's taking this week that was from our February Bold 6000 challenge from last year. And so if you didn't know Kaylee's story back then, she did, to catch up in the challenge, she did 3 Bold 100s back to back to back 1 week. This business came from that. So shout out there. And and Annabelle, we'll wrap up with that. So Annabelle's in her 3rd week of launch. You might have remembered last week we shouted her out. She took her first buyer's rep yesterday.
Woo!
That's all I got.
Stuff. All right, San Antonio, we see you. That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool. And shout out Valencia for bringing us converted. Hello. Right. I love that. Valencia, Jordan, you guys are just such amazing, powerful women. Thank you for providing that kind of level of training so we can just level up. I love it. Valencia, whenever you have your next dates, just let us know, because I know you're in the middle of one right now, but I've had people asking. So I love the success stories. Great job, guys. Michael, going to you.
Good morning. I wanted to give a few shout outs to our team. Gerardo Arroyo, he's getting his first $2.4 million commercial deal signed. Kayla Butler, she's working with some potential commercial clients. They're looking in the $2.5 million range. And then there's 3 other agents that are doing their first commercial deals. I don't know what's going on in Midland, but I think commercial is starting to boom here.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Who would have thought? Commercial. Look at that. Rock and roll, Midland team. I love it. Hey, we'll take the deals wherever they are, right? Like we're not that picky. We're definitely not that picky. I love that. Man, that's awesome. I definitely, I'm gonna get to you just in a second, Brandon. I want to also shout out. I saw that Elizabeth Gassos was at family reunion, Keller Williams family reunion. I know Jordan, I saw her face everywhere. I think there were other Texas folks, and the shout out there is, man, you guys show up like leaders, like wherever you go. And it is so fun to watch, even though I wasn't there, like I felt like I was there with you guys. So thank you for sharing notes. Thank you for sharing like all your photo dumps. Like that is just so fun to watch. So thank you for just representing us so big. And then Maria from the Austin team did a place seller panel yesterday, did an amazing job with that. If you guys ever want to be a top listing agent, it was recorded yesterday. It was Sarita, Maria, and Anthony, and I got a lot out of it. Like I'm going to go back and train with the team on it. So definitely want to shout that out. And then a couple things that were on my mind. Daniel Weiser in Austin, he pended a 620 seller that he got from withdrawns, right? So expired withdrawns, like they're a source of now business. A lot of your business can change really quickly. I think he talked to them, I think originally maybe January, and now they're pending. So that's cool. Memo in Austin, he pended a 375 from a sign call. So pick up that phone. People are on the other side of it that need your help, right? Joseph Madrid listed a 625 from expireds, right? Again, another one from expireds. Akash, 685 from a withdrawn that he just talked to this month, right? So that business, that now business is out there. So I really love that. And then I saw that Maurice in Houston, he got a 295 buyer from open houses. To Brandon's point, they work. And then I think Gabby in Houston got a 210 buyer from Brivity Leads. So love to see like all of this now business. Like some of it is years in the making, and that's normal, guys. But some of it is now. So I love that. Brandon, I'm going to you.
Hey, yeah, I have two more actually. And one of them, you reminded me, I had a conversation with my little sister's realtor out in East Texas. Yesterday, we were talking about something, and I got to share that power up that Elizabeth Gassos did, because this agent's heavy on referrals. And I asked her, I'm like, hey, are you in YP, KWYP? She's like, no, we don't have a chapter here, but I've been thinking about it. And I was like, man, we have a partner in Dallas, Elizabeth, and she just did this powerhouse panel for us about connecting and gave us a new outlook on a different outlook on like networking, how to make it work for you. So shout out to her for that. And then also back to Annabelle and Alicia, I just wanted to share real quick how we all got connected. So at our market center at Heritage, we're not allowed to list our own house. And so Annabelle was an independent agent. She posted internally and said, hey, how do I sell my own house here? Alicia, everyone was doing comments. And of course, we don't do that, right? We make the calls. So Alicia just cold called her and met with her for the listing appointment. And then they started talking about business. And then she was like, hey, well, maybe our team's something you should look into. Got us connected. And that's how that happened. And so Annabelle did go live. Alicia took that live last week, and they got an offer over asking. I think I saw buyer paying title, and I don't think it went into multiple offers. So shout out to Alicia for negotiating that up. And obviously Annabelle for taking action, and then all of us getting connected. That's a pretty cool story. There's partners out there, and we're just waiting to meet them.
Oh, that's so true. I actually have a partner meeting right after this. So perfect timing for that. But before that, you guys, we've got amazing people this morning. I'm super excited about this content. We're going to switch gears and we're going to get into our topic. We've got Jordan this morning, and oh my God, my brain just stopped. And Brian from the Dallas-Fort Worth market, right? And they're spending like such an important time with us. They've had a really like big week already. So this was awesome that they decided to do this week with us. They just finished up a real life flip, you guys, right? So, and as soon as they finished it, I was like, oh, I want to know all the details, right? And so if I wanted to learn about it myself, I thought, gosh, there's got to be somebody else who wants to know how to do a flip, right? How, like, what's the process? What's the system? What were the lessons learned? What were the ins and outs of this flipping project? Because it happened in today's market, not 3 years ago. And so I think it's important, if you've ever wanted to buy a property or to flip one, whether you're going to hold it or you're going to sell it, or you just want to advise your investor clients in the future, you're going to love this content. I'm just going to throw it all over to them, spotlight them, and they can go on however they want and do their own thing, because they are already pretty badass. So thank you so much. I'm going to put myself on mute. It's all yours, Jordan and Brian.
Good morning. Yeah, hi, I'm Jordan Davis. This is Brian Lemke, and Brian's been with Davis team for 3 years. I wanted to touch on real quick, part of our team has been generating investor inquiries. Brian has been working for 3 years to create a pool of investors and to create a pool of sellers that would be interested in investing in contacts there. And so before we ever got into this, that's going to play a part of how we find investment properties. But we kind of knew that this was waiting in the wings while he was building out his business, that when a recession hit, it would be a really great time to take advantage of this. We had started to do investor seminars, and I found that I didn't really know the numbers. And I didn't really understand the process. And so unfortunately, I am a slow learner, and and I have to painfully go through it myself in order to understand something. So I knew that I needed to flip a house with Brian. And, a lot of what we do with regards to that in finances, my husband does, but I knew that I need to painfully go through one myself and see all the numbers and to really understand it and advise clients on it. So I would highly encourage you, if this is something that you're interested in, to do one yourself. And now we have another team member doing a flip themselves. But first I wanted to start with Brian talking about how we talk to our sellers about selling to investors, people who are interested in investor offers.
Good morning, guys. So we go on probably 2 or 3, kind of investor type listing appointments. I would say almost a month, to where you're walking into some of these properties and it's completely just a crap hole. Some are just, no flooring, or, just missing appliances or whatever it may be. And the sellers know, hey, we're not going to be able to get, traditional offer from just Joe Blow from down the street. So you kind of go in there with that attitude of, hey, so we have a pool of investors. I tell them, I have probably 8 or 9 active buyers at any moment that can pull the trigger with cash or hard money or whatever. And so we try to tell the seller, hey, look, yes, your ARV, and we can explain what the ARV is, would be, 300,000. Well, you can anticipate, maybe 60% of that if you have an investor come in to do that.
What ARV is.
ARV is after repair value for these properties. And so you kind of tell the sellers that you kind of educate them as to what that number looks like, why that number is important, and how the investors are going to look at it. And so you tell them that right up front, because then they know that, hey, we're not getting anything close to what the market's going to bring. And they should know that, because the house is just not in very good shape.
But people often think, okay, my home would be worth 300,000 if it were updated. It needs 30,000 in updates. I can sell it for 270. That's not a thing. And so most likely you're going to be looking at 70% of that 300,000, which would put you at about 210,000.
That's not a good number, but yeah. So anyway, so after we kind of talked to the sellers about that, I try and tell them, look, I have a pool of investors. We can go with, try and get Open Door or OfferPad or some of those other big companies to come in here. But typically they're not even going to touch anything that needs, big time work. They're just not. If it needs paint and maybe new carpet, yeah, Open Door might help. But most of the time they're going to, you take those photos and it's just, it's going to be a waste of time, but you still want to do that and show the client, hey, look, they declined to offer. Here's some offers from my investors. What do you think? And so that's kind of the groundwork that I like to lay right up front. And sometimes it takes weeks, sometimes it takes months. One that we just did, I think I went the listing appointment over the summer, and one of our agents on our team actually just purchased it as a flip for himself just now. So we just got on a contract this past week. So sometimes they take a while to get ready. This one was actually had a tenant in it though, so it took a little bit longer.
So, and then we wanted to share specifically the flip that we did together. Brian is also a general contractor, and so I hired him as a GC. I actually increased the price and paid him a buyer agent commission for his GC fee. That we ran through and didn't charge the team. We ran it through Ben and Chris and the finance team to make sure that was okay. But I was able to wrap up his GC fee in the loan. So by having a GC that's also an agent on our team, that works out really well. But I'm going to walk through the numbers of what that looks like and what it literally looked like for us. We kept track of every expense, and we met every Tuesday for our coaching. And then after that, we would discuss the property. So we have our exact timeline and our exact expenses noted here. So let me share my screen real quick and we'll head into that.
And the funny thing too was I jokingly told Jordan, I said, you should flip this. And she kind of laughed, and we both laughed about it because I couldn't get any offers. The offers that I did get, it was a time when people were just nervous. I mean, the interest rates just went up. Everybody's kind of freaking out. They don't know what's going on. And so I told her, I said, we should flip this. We could do this. And in fact, it was my second one this year. I had one earlier in the year that I did for a friend of mine who kind of fell by the wayside. And so this was, I think, my 9th flip in the last 10, 12 years. So it was exciting to kind of go through this whole venture with Jordan. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you can imagine my face when I walked in and saw this house that's on screen for you. I was pretty horrified. But yeah, Brian was like, you should flip this. We ran the numbers. Ultimately, we actually decided to hold it as a rental, and I'll show you kind of how we made that decision and where the numbers were on the spreadsheet. So first, let's just explore the hellhole that is Martin Lydon that we walked into. Pretty much it was built what, in the 70s and
60s
and hadn't been touched. This was it. There was a slab leak in the kitchen and they just put a board over it and lived their lives. Grandma lived here and passed away, and they gave it to her children, gave it to their son, who was just like not succeeding in life. And they're like, here, live in this house and figure your life out. Well, eventually they just wanted to get rid of it. But this is a dining room. The kitchen is actually like completely closed off to the living room. There's like a small tiny doorway that we opened up. What you see back here in the back right, actually we pushed into the garage and became the laundry room that we relocated indoors as opposed to in the garage. But it had great potential with great windows. We needed a new roof, so we built that into the cost. They said they weren't going to do repairs, so we added that into and got it paid at closing. So we increased the price that we offered it and got it paid at closing. But you can see this beautiful avocado bathroom. The guest bedrooms actually weren't that bad. They did a wood look laminate that they laid down that we actually ended up ripping up. It was poorly done, but it was redone. And then this was the master. So it was like super duper creepy that anybody ever lived here. And so, yeah, you'll see kind of what we did on this. So here's the numbers. Our initial purchase price for the property was $175,000. We knew the home would be worth 300 to 325 with repairs. Now keep in mind, they did need a roof. So you can pretty much change that to 185,000 because I don't think you can sell a home without getting the roof redone. So you can see we were probably at 60% of ARV. And the only reason we were able to come in that low is because literally nobody else was bidding on it. It was in August when the market was shifting and the recession was impending and nobody was picking up properties. And so these people just couldn't get rid of it. We did choose to put $50,000 down because from the get-go, we decided to keep the property based on the numbers. And we put down 25% in order to get a lower interest rate. We also paid down points, which you see lender cost $1,700. I probably wouldn't have done that in the future, and I'm going to cover that at the end. I would have done the BRRRR method, but I'll show you why later. And so title fees, insurance, holding fees, that is 6 months of paying our mortgage and bills like electricity and water for 6 months. So that was the holding fees of $5,000, the inspection, the roof, and the GC fee. So I actually took the roof and the GC fee and I increased the price to $205 and built those in to be a seller paid fee, but the seller netted the same. Does that make sense?
My mind is so blown right now. I love it so much. I have never thought about doing the GC fee and the roof into the purchase price.
I thought that was the coolest part too.
That is ridiculous. Great job.
It also allowed me to pay Brian up front, just knowing he was going to do a lot of the work and things like that. So it allowed me to get him paid up front. And then, so the fee sheet that you're going to see later on is literally all at cost. So if you're factoring this in, you want to add probably 20% if you have somebody installing it,
easy.
As opposed to like we have countertops or we have cabinets. Well, you're probably going to have them installed. So it's going to be about 20% more. We just built that in early with the GC fee and had Brian do those things. And so this is, if we had gone with hard money, we chose not to. We chose to go with traditional lending. It shows you right here what the payment change would have been. Now, even still with hard money, we chose not to load they have the renovation costs. So at the time we estimated renovation costs at $40,000, it ended up coming in at $60,000, but it basically says we could borrow $240,000, but we would have to pay them like, let's see, what would we have to pay them? Yeah, $29,450 is what we would have to bring to close in order to borrow the whole $240,000. So that was the $35,000 in rehab and the amount that we would have as a loan. So that just kind of lets you know what a hard money loan would look like. And we opted not to do the $6,400 closing fee at closing. We knew we were going to keep it, and we didn't want to then refinance it and have fees involved then on the refi. So we thought, well, let's just go ahead and finance it to keep. But this is what hard money would look like if you were going to flip. So if anybody ever wonders, what do you need? You can borrow your repairs costs, and they will give those to you. It even talks about rehab as draws. So they're going to give it to you as draws when you hit certain milestones. So here is where our numbers came in at. And we have general flooring, baseboards. I try to categorize them based on like sections of the home. So we have general home that needed to be done first, and then finishing touches. Flooring, baseboards, painting the outside, garage door and installation, fixing the brick was actually caving in, repair cracks, and we retextured all the walls and ceilings. This really gave it a modern feel and made it look like a home that was built today, which was really cool. We opened the wall to the living room. That is insanely low because literally all Brian had to do was pay for a beam because, you know, in his spare time, he opens walls up. We did pay a plumber. We did get a company to come and fill the hole in the kitchen and level it, paid an electrician, and then Brian built out the laundry room. So he had $500 in supplies there. It was extra room in the garage that wasn't necessary. And so he was able to, we just turned where the, what are they called? The access points were in the garage. They shared a wall with the house and we just flipped them around. Insulation, fence, we had to get the fence repairs, interior doors. So we did all new interior doors. This is something that really made the home look like a complete flip. We didn't just paint the doors that were there that were from the 70s or 60s. Of course, there's trash pickup, blinds. We had workers come do different installations when we were kind of falling behind and had a lot of balls in the air. We had the deadline of getting this rented by the end of the year for tax purposes in order for us to do, what's it called, where we prorate, I forget what the term is, but basically where we take like the loss of the home all up front. Adelina, you know what this term is. Help me out. What am I missing?
I think my pregnancy brain is also in tune with you and your
cost segregation.
Cost segregation. Yes.
So everything was on here, and you can see even like appliances were on here.
Can I ask a question that Alicia brought up?
Yes, ma'am.
So on this budget part, like this one that we're looking at, so basically, or the one right before, yes, the one right before. So this one, basically plumbing and electrical, you guys did have to bring in somebody. Everything else is kind of, and other like workers miscellaneous. Everything else is like basically material because you already, Brian's GC fee was paid on the front end. Is that how we should be reading this?
Yeah,
okay.
Correct. And we needed permits for the electrical and the plumbing. So they did those accordingly. And yes, Brian's GC fee. So it discounted a lot of what you see here. So if you're estimating this for like your own personal flip, you either have a GC and you get stuff at cost, or you're going to have markup and you don't have that GC fee, but it really just comes out in the wash.
Got it.
And then he had like the coolest little elf helper. I'm only talented at painting, so I painted the entire house and all the baseboards and all the doors. For some reason, we got wood doors. It was horrific. And I painted every door in that house. So 3 times. And so kitchens, obviously we did cabinets. The cabinets also include the bathroom cabinets. We just made them identical, but countertops, same thing with the bathroom. And then we have appliances in there that went into there. So that gives you an estimate on that. And then I included the bathrooms together. So what that cost for us to update the bathroom. Brian did retile the entire bathroom. So it was really inexpensive. If you did this right here, that would probably cost you like $3,000 to get that whole bathroom retiled. So this is how we went into estimating it. Here's the overall financials. So we estimated our repairs at $40,000. They came in at $60,000. We added a couple projects like the laundry room and opening up the wall to the living room. Also, I think the texturing we didn't really necessarily plan on. And then we just ended up in some issues with like the electrical, God, the plumbing has continued to be an issue. Because it is a 1960s house, all the plumbing is that. So there's roots. I mean, there just were issues. So we ended up coming in at $60,000 for repairs. All in, we were invested at 273. If we were to flip it at a sales price of 325, our proceeds would have been 33,800 for us, minus closing costs, etc.
How long was it? A 6-month project after all, or how long was it for you guys start to finish, from closing day to finish?
20 weeks, and I have that lined out for us.
Okay. Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. So the hard money of 6 months was based on like a 4-month repair and then a month on the market and a month to get closed. So this lets you know like why we decided to keep it. Our mortgage is $1,424 a month. Our rent is $2,400 a month. And so we cash flowed $976 a month. So that went into our decision to keep and hold it.
Oh, that's an insane cash flow, you guys. That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah. Overall, this was our timeline. So there's a lot of demo that went into week one. Week one, I tore my meniscus and had to have surgery and was not able to walk for 8 weeks. So that threw everything a little bit behind. And so Brian got to do a lot of this himself. But he opened the wall, redid the electrical, really got everything textured. There was a point where we had to order everything, and that was really challenging to see it as a first-time flipper before, like to imagine how the cabinets would be arranged. But you have to order them with a couple weeks notice in order to get them in a timely manner. So that was really challenging, and that's where Brian, having done so many, was helpful. Otherwise, I would have been entirely lost at the dimensions. I mean, I'm sure if you call out Home Depot, like they could advise you or something like that, but I would have been entirely lost as far as how to make the kitchen flow.
And Jordan did like to order everything all at once. So storing everything was a little bit of an issue. We had stuff in the garage, stuff in the house. I'm like, okay, we probably shouldn't have ordered all of this at the very front end of it, but it's all good. So we made it work. My son had a good time doing demo. So that was fun. Him and his friend were helping me out with that. So what Jordan didn't get to do with the sledgehammer, my son did.
So creating the laundry room, repairing cracks and textures. So obviously all this is just like base. So the first 8 weeks were so boring and we saw like no progress in my eyes. I like to pick out finishes and fixtures and all of that. And Brian's like all excited about the progress. And I'm like, yeah. When are we getting countertops? And so you can see like 8 weeks just went into getting the home ready to lay all of those fun finishes on them. So I thought this project would be done in 8 to 12 weeks. Brian laughed at me and was like, yeah, it's probably more like 12 to 16. It ended up taking 20. But this just lets you know, like the first 8 weeks, you're just really preparing the home to get everything out and get your new basics in. And if you think about how long it takes a home to be built, it makes sense. So we did do like refinish the bathtub in the second bathroom with like a paint glaze over that avocado green. We didn't rip that all out. We just paint glazed that and the bathtub. You can see like tiling the shower, painting the bathroom, replacing the wood rot. That was something that we hired out, installing the kitchen cabinet. So that's finally at week 12 is when we started to see like some fun stuff come together, where we were painting, installing cabinets, countertops were on their way. And you could start seeing like the product coming together. So this has weeks 14, 15, and 16. This was we were getting towards the finishing touches. This is when we actually had to get the home on the market. So we paid somebody to come help from a contractor standpoint, because we needed a lot of these things ready to go in order to get it rented by the end of the year. This was like the November timeframe. So we needed to get it pretty far along to get it rented. So you saw a lot more happening there as we got more help involved. And then 17 to 18, I don't know if you guys are reviewing this, but I don't have to bore you with it. And I'm happy to send this to anybody who wants it. But what all went into that. And then finally, actually, we found a renter in week 18, and he was going back to California to get his family, and he gave us 2 weeks to finish the project. And so we were able to do all of these final details of installations, little things that I just never imagined went into flipping a home, like installing door stops and hanging doors. It's just a lot. There were a lot. And I grossly underestimated what all went into flipping a home. And I remember when I had investors who were flipping homes, I was like, why aren't you guys ready? Come on. And they would always like underestimate how long it would take. Like they'll be like, oh, we'll be ready in 2 weeks. And I'd be so annoyed when it wasn't ready then. Now I totally understand. Like it's just a death by a million little things that are still to do.
That is so spot on. Oh my gosh. How did you guys find the renter? Did they just like knock on your door or like
MLS? We put like what was finished. We put iPhone pictures up on MLS for rent and just said like construction zone will be like 100% renovated and complete in 2 weeks.
Amazing.
And so they were so excited to live in something that's like never been lived in.
Absolutely. I love that. Love it.
So this is the final product. And I've got some pictures to show you guys. And so it was really exciting to get that done and see everything finished out. But yeah, basically I kept updating the MLS pictures as we like finished it out. So it's just crazy to me, like how it can be renovated. And I think both of us were like really proud of it. It was like our baby that we were working on and talking about all the time. But you can see where he opened up that living room. That was just a tiny door. We actually added a pantry. There wasn't one. So he built out a pantry and added that. That's the formal dining room. It actually was a breakfast nook and a like den, and we made it a huge formal dining room. And then the living room was a formal dining room and a living room, formal living room. And we just decided to change it all up, make bigger spaces that worked better. And you can see where we opened this wall up really huge to the kitchen. This was just one tiny door that led into the kitchen. So it was really cool to be able to sit right here at this countertop and see out both the front and the back window at the same time. The can lights, that was another thing that made the home look really updated and look like you were walking into brand new construction. Ryan got frame happy and all the windows and all the doors got framed, and I got to paint them all 3 times because they were MDF board. But it was really fun to like kind of play into like the retro of the home and the new modern feel. And so picking out appliances and I don't know, backsplashes and flooring was really fun. And there is the master, and there is the master bath. And the Brian spent 3 weeks in that shower tiling that thing because I picked out 6-inch tiles, and he was not very happy with me. And so
Go for bigger. If you're doing a subway tile, do bigger. That's all I'm going to say.
But that's the bathroom that was like all black and just like blah. So if I had it to do all over again, this is what I've been asked the most on my Real Estate Plus Real Life page is what would I do different? I probably would go the hard money route so that we had the cash to reinvest. We would not have the cash flow that we have. So it's kind of like double-edged sword. We would just barely cover the mortgage. But if you did do this route, if you went the hard money route, you'd have 205 purchase price, 60,000 in repairs, total 265. You could borrow about 235 and put $30,000 down. It includes like the hard money fees, and what you would need at closing would be about 36,500 there. This is cool though to me because you can do the Burr method and basically get your 35,000 back out. But basically what you do at the end of it is you refinance 325,000. They require you to leave 20% in, that's 56,000. Remember from here, you borrowed your payoff is 235. So we bring that over. That totals 291. So 325 minus 291 gives you 34,000, and you have all the money you need to go do our hard money on the next property. And that's just how you keep rolling the properties.
Man, you guys are so detailed. I love this so much. And I bet you get into so much less trouble by actually knowing your numbers and
Yes.
timelines, right? Even if like, there's always going to be like, I wish I would have done this better or blah, blah, blah. But this is so good. So good. Such a great model. I feel like everybody's going to want to have this slide deck so that they can model it, honestly.
I'll email it to you, Adelina.
I love this. Thank you so much.
Questions or anything?
Alicia's hands up. Alicia, do you have a question?
Yeah, can you go back and remind me, how did you pay your GC how did that get paid out? Was it, do you raise the sales price and had it back in seller concessions?
Yeah, so because Brian is an agent, that's what I did. Although I'm guessing if they were licensed, you could get them paid at closing. But what I did is I raised the price two ways. It was 175 as our agreed upon price. It needed a new roof. So I raised it to 185 to build in the $10,000 roof to get paid at closing. And then I raised it to 205. The seller didn't care because they were going to net the same. So I went from 185 to 205 to take care of Brian's GC fee. He could do a get paid at closing type deal from title, but because he's a realtor, I built it in as a buyer commission, like he represented me as a buyer's agent.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So we couldn't necessarily do that if they're not licensed as a real estate agent.
You probably could with title, and I would check with that, where they hold and pay for it, almost like the roof got paid for. That's why I bring up the roof,
Gotcha.
because it's similar to that we
It's just held in escrow.
It wasn't held in escrow. It was paid at closing. It was paid out to those licensed individuals as if Brian had already done the work.
Gotcha.
But because he's a realtor, we opted to go that way. But I think if you have like a licensed GC, their company could get paid at closing, just like a lien holder, anything.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
My
you're
mind
welcome.
is so blown. I love this. Graylin or Graylon?
Hello guys, how you doing?
Hey,
Hey, could you go back to the last slide? So in this deal, there's a total of 265K. Could you explain these, what is that, the down line as well as the need at closing line? Are those two different fees? So is that a total of 66K for you to close this deal?
No, what the total needed to close was right here, 36,500. I explained how our down payment and our HUD money fees equated to this.
Okay, gotcha. So
yeah.
36.5 to close.
I could have closed this deal for 36.5 and borrowed 265.
Right.
And that was all I needed to put down to borrow.
Right. You just had some additional nuances because of how you structure the GC aspect of the deal.
Correct. And I decided to go with traditional financing, not hard money. In the future, we will probably do this hard money and keep rolling it. It was a choice that we made to go with traditional financing a lot because I didn't know what I didn't know and I was overwhelmed.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, Jordan, the fact that you guys even took this on, and probably what's going to be known as probably the bottom, right, of the market, like that took a lot of guts. So there's only so much guts that you have, right, to be able to like take all the risks in the world. Let's do hard money. We've never done hard money. Let's do it now, right? So.
Well, and especially flipping, I was very timid to flip. I think Brian really wanted to see what it could get on the market. One, flips were flooding the market. And two, I knew if buyers aren't going to buy, they have to live somewhere. So if home purchases go down, then rentals should go up. So either way, I'm good.
Right on. Laura, going to you.
Just for my clarity, you guys partnered on this for the flip, but when you decided to hold it, you guys kept it as partners too? So you own it together?
No, so I own it personally. Brian just partnered to do the GC part.
Okay, awesome.
But it could definitely be something that you do within your team and you hold together. Somebody just asked if we're self-managing. Yes, we're self-managing. We only have 3 investment properties. This building that we're in is one of them, and the team rents it from my personal business. And so with 3 properties, it's not too hard to self-manage. Yeah. But yes, Laura, I could definitely see how you could bring a team member in and continue to own that together and like grow wealth together. Which really cool.
My next question was going to be, if he had been your partner to keep it in the holding part, would you have compensated him the same way for the GC work?
Probably not. And we also talked about it changed to a GC fee instead of flipping and splitting the proceeds. Otherwise, I wouldn't have compensated him as a GC if we were going to flip it and split it.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you.
When I say that we walked into $34,000 in like equity, I think the property would have resold for 315. Brian thinks it would have sold for 325. So I think we got about 25,000 in equity, which made it really pretty split when he got paid a GC fee.
Yeah.
But he thinks the home would resell for 325. So we have a difference of opinion there.
Fair.
I
Okay,
mean,
thank you.
Like when I think about that, like let's call it 25, 35, whatever you can call it, but the cash flow, Jesus Christ. Like, I mean, you can't have it all. You can't have, you know, like huge appreciation, huge cash flow. I mean, like we'd be in a small town at that point, right? So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Michaela's team, Saritha, BKT Dallas, I see you. They have a whole team watching this like on the big screen.
Woohoo.
Yeah, we're doing Brivity Health Day, so.
Sweet. I love that.
Okay, so quick question, and I hope you didn't cover this, but when you built in the roofing and the GC fee, I think you were at 205. Did you run into, like, the property had to appraise for 205, correct? Or am I just, okay.
And it did. Do you remember what?
Yeah, I
It's
think
215, 216?
223 or something. Was it that much? I think it was 223.
Something like
Appraised at its current, at its, you know, state as it was. Yeah.
Because
I think it was
obviously, like,
223.
this is the time of year right this minute where we usually run into the appraisal issues, right? For any newer agents, like February, March, or typically if you're gonna have an appraisal issue all year, it's typically now because the past 6 months were the slower part of the market. So you're actually lucky, you know, you did buy it in August because you had still really good comps, right? I mean,
Well,
I'm
no, I
assuming-
mean, the comps were high, but remember, we bought that disgusting house. So when they comped it out, they just did, here is your comparable, but it would take 30 to renovate it. So they discounted the comparable by 30,000, but we knew like it would take more than that, and no investor is going to pay for that. That's part of that 60 to 70% ARV. So I hear what you're saying, but he compared it to homes that were like, they had been kind of redone by homeowners. There weren't any homes as comparables that hadn't been touched since the 60s. So that helped us because all of our comparables had been kind of slowly redone by homeowners.
Yeah, I literally took every single thing out of that house, like even drywall, like down to the studs to that whole kitchen, basically.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, so our comps weren't an issue with building in all those fees.
What this reminds me of is, gosh, we are in the best industry to take advantage of this, right? Who knows the market numbers better than the real estate agents who are selling every single day? Like, man, it's
Well,
such
and
an
then
opportunity.
Brian also got paid 3% to be the listing agent as well. So that just goes, and then they saved 3%, like we didn't charge it. So it ended up being kind of a win for everybody where they got what they needed. So we usually do shop other investors. If an investor comes in higher, no big deal. But I will tell you, if you're interested in this, go get your finances in order. You don't have time. When he brings a deal, I have like 24 hours. And so you need to have your finances in order such that you could make an offer. The cool thing about it being within the team is he could go to Open Door, OfferPad, whatever. And let's say they offered 175, I could come in at 178. Like, I know what all the other offers are, right? And so it still is the best for the client because they got a better offer. But I know, like, I have a sneak peek at what like the competition's doing. So you're right, being in the industry is incredible.
Yeah, man, what a competitive advantage we have. And speaking of getting your finances in order, like guys, like Win, Make, Give is like new this year. Like I know it's one of those things, I've taken it before, blah, blah. It's one thing to take it, to know your content, another thing to actually apply it. Like literally, I'm still on step 3 this year. Like, because it takes so long because of the size of everything that we're running. So like, if you think you know it, like go back, like look in your bank account, because that'll tell you if you really know it, right? Like that was like,
actually that came up, and Adelina, I know my numbers because of Win, Make, Give. I went through the pain of Win, Make, Give. Again, I'm not a numbers person. So I went through the pain of that and I knew my numbers, and I got denied for the initial loan. And I was like, what? And so when we went through it with, well, what's now Envoy, but BKCO, they had misclassified all of my profit share from our partnership. So I only had my sales income, not my profit share as the operator. And they had misclassified half my income. I was quickly able to identify and say, that's not right. That's not what I made. So they were showing like our business was tanking and I had made half the money that I had made the year before. So originally got denied. We had to redo everything with our CPA, redo everything with our bookkeeper. It was a huge deal. Our tax bill that was due in a month went from 10,000 to 80,000. And that's when Matt got on the phone with the president of every single company, the bookkeeper and the CPA. And that's when we figured out that we could cost segregate to other properties. I wish they had told us before, right? But they weren't being proactive and we kept getting handed off. So we're looking at solutions now of not getting handed off to a junior CPA who's brand new. And so it did create a problem. I had the initial pre-approval, but then when they really dug in and really went to underwrite us, they denied us. So Matt had to do it all in his own name and take mine out while we straightened out my income. But part of knowing my numbers from When Make Give was me saying, that's not correct. So that is really, really important.
God, I love that. Brandon, don't
Yeah, a couple questions. This is awesome. Appreciate it, Jordan and Brian. A couple things. I know that depending on the investor that we've worked with, they evaluate the deal from a different perspective. They look at gross numbers, net numbers, cost segregation, whatever it is. So for your for your cash flow number, are you taking into consideration right now taxes and insurance for the way you're looking at that? And have you quantified what your tax savings are going to be from cost segregating that house? So we could kind of share that example with our investors, because that's something a lot of people don't know about, obviously.
I could probably get you cost segregation from the other two properties that we did to lower our taxes back. We got our taxes back down from 80,000 to 40. So we were able to save 40,000 through cost segregating two properties. One at Lone Oak is the property, and the other one was Kennedale, the one that we're in right now. We cost segregated both to get our taxes down. So I can give you those numbers of what that equated to and what those homes are worth. However, we don't have what cost segregating Martin Lydon will do until we do taxes for last year. However, because we went a traditional route, Brandon, we do have principal, interest, taxes, and insurance all built into that payment of $1,424.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's all in. That 1,400's all in.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
It was kitty, not just mortgage. So I can correct that, but it was principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So that cash flow is after insurance and taxes.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Otherwise, you're right. $1,000 ain't shit if you still got to pay taxes on it.
And the reason why I ask is because depending on the investor and where they're at in their strategy, so we've had people come to San Antonio to break even only, like they're fine with that based off of what they could get in their market, but they're looking at it from a totally different perspective. They don't care. They've played appreciation the last 3 years and they'll cost seg it to get it down. Other people, it's only cash flow, right?
Yeah.
And so these are the conversations.
We're cash flowing almost $1,000, but we tied up. Remember, I told you what put 50 down and we did 60 in reno. Like we tied up $110,000. So it's going to take us 110 months to recuperate that, as opposed to most people just tie up, well, I showed you the hard money part where you tie up 36, but you do the Burr method and you get your 36 back out immediately. So you tie up no cash, but you are breaking even on your payment and your rent. And so we're choosing to stay this route based on finances coming up for this year, but we'll have the ability to do the hard money and the Burr method in the future.
When I imagine in your market, rent's probably going to go up faster per month than your tax payment would change per month, right? So your mortgage way more fixed than the rent would be. So there's a future play there too.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that. When rates go down, Jordan, do you guys anticipate doing maybe a cash out refi? Because right now rates are just so high for cash out refi, it doesn't even make sense. But in the future, is that like maybe a play, or are you just going to hold just like this?
We owe so little on it. We only financed like 150.
Yeah.
So we may just pay it off and take the cash flow and then use that to recoup for the next future ones. Okay. It's just, for us personally, cash wasn't an issue, but I did want to do an honor if people are looking at cash, right? Cash on cash and how long they're tying up cash. For us, that wasn't an issue. So yeah, at interest rates as high as they are now, like we'll probably just pay it off and move on.
Okay.
But that's personal preference. But yes, I think it is a good idea to do the hard money and then the BRRRR method. And you can see how the numbers work out to you getting your cash back out and then going and reinvesting in the next one.
Totally. I love that. Just for everybody, if you're not looking at cash out refinance, interest rates, they're like at 9.25% right now, like as of last week. So that's why like it wouldn't make sense to like almost do like 10%. Be crazy to do that.
Our other issue is we're facing the 4 loans. I believe each name can have 4 loans. We're facing that. So we're talking to a bank about a line of credit so we can wrap all of our loans up in that and free up what we can do.
These are good problems to have. I know we went overtime by 7 minutes. You guys, we apologize for that. It turned out to be a really great mastermind in addition to a great presentation. So super appreciative of that. And I feel like last time Matt was on, was our guest, and he talked about like, how you can win with points and like, cash back on credit cards, which is like, why would we talk about that if we sell real estate? Well, like, gosh, I'm so grateful we did that. So like, I'm grateful with this one. It's not specific to like selling the next house, but it is such a good skill to have between the two of you guys and your expertise.
But it kind of is like, we did that one. Bart on our team is doing one. That's really cool because Bart wanted to pay $240. The seller wanted $250. Brian worked out where the seller could owner finance, and over 6 months, they'll make the $10,000 they need. And so those deals were kind of going away. We weren't able to marry them up in the old market. And like Brian has 2 right now that are pending that are double-sided, or one just closed. And so he's just double-siding all of these deals. And finding the investors and all of that. Otherwise, they actually would be none. Like, how many of you hear about investors and go, I don't really know what to do with that, and you end up getting nothing? Absolutely. And instead, we're double siding.
Yeah, and the key to working with some of these investors, like everybody says they're an investor, you got to figure out who the actual investors really are. Who's going to pull a trigger on something, and who's the one that's going to waste your time? Because I've figured that out the last 3 years, that there's only maybe not even half that are just going to waste your time. And the other half are going to actually pull the trigger. So
they need their financing in order, and they need to be able to get you a response back within 24 hours. And so I think you give people like 3 chances and then you're done with them if they don't even quote you what you would pay for that property.
Man, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for this morning. I'll get this Donica on our team. She runs the recording. So as soon as she runs it, I'll get it sent out, and Jordan will get us a slide deck. Man, Brian, Jordan, you guys are amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Next week we have, you'll love this topic. It's coming from Grandma Gail. So Gail from Washington, she is succeeding with turning crappy Brivity leads into closings. So I know everybody, if you've ever said that Brivity leads are crap, this is going to be the power up for you. You're going to love it. So we'll see you guys next week. Thank you again, Jordan and Brian, and you guys have a good rest of your week. We'll see you in 7 days. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.